Pleasant good evening. Today is March 29th, Friday, March 29th, and it is 7 p.m. And you're watching the Marcia Week Show. We're coming to you live from Barbados. On the Marcia Week Show, we educate, we agitate, we motivate, we mobilize the people of the Caribbean region, the people in the diaspora, and tonight we are excited to be here with you. And I see that quite a number of you have joined. And we have a great show lined up for everybody. Tonight, there are about 129 of you watching. Good night. I'm trusting you had a peaceful day. I had a very restful day. Spent some time in the garden and got some good sleep today and great time of prayer, and it was just really peaceful day, and I'm excited about that. Of course, we ask you to share, we ask you to like, and we ask you kindly to hit that subscribe button. All right, when you hit that little bell, that is going to help you. Whenever we come on, it will give you a notification so you know that we are on. And when you like it, it's going to cause the algorithm to let people choose us. And because we have so much to say tonight, we are going to continue to talk about the fuel tax. We're going to talk about that. Kemar is coming on to talk about that. We're going to look at the PIER-HEAD project there in Bridgetown and look at the gentrification of that community, that area. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. Nigel Newton is back with us, guys. So you know what time it is. It is education time. So we're going to get our whatever you phone, or you use a book like me. I like to write in my book, but this is a time of great education, and we have quite a bit of announcements for you, because on Sunday night, I don't know if the flyer is going to come up or if it's already there for me to put it up, but the we're going to have quite a number of programs for you. One of them that's coming up on Sunday is going to be about Joe's River, right? That's what is going to come up on Sunday, about Joe's River. That's what we're going to have on Sunday evening, and so we ask you to make sure that you are tuned in, and that's on Sunday. A program and not Bohe, Joe's River I come from, right? And we're going to have our guests on. Victor Lewis is going to be on, who is a community activist. Also, Matthew Holder, he is our hike master, and I am accustomed and going on hikes with Matthew. Love to go to hikes with Matthew and his entire team. Dave and I, and the family, sometimes we go on this hike with him. And Joe's River is one of my favorite places, so I'm very passionate about that. That's coming up on Sunday, March the 31st, at 7 o'clock. Now, there is also coming up. This is a little bit of Joe's River. I guess, yes, we were showing you a little bit there of Joe's River, some of the pictures, etc., of our hiking days at Joe's River. Very good. I don't know if anybody out there has been to any hikes or anything there in Joe's River, but we are seeking to make sure that this is preserved. It is important that this is preserved, that we have access, the public has access to it. It's a place of that makes you feel whole. When you go to Joe's River, you feel nature, you hear nature, the water rushing. It just calms you down. And we want to say, yes, let there be development, but we do not want to change our customs. We do not want to change our way of life. This is important. And if a wellness center can be put there for those overseas to use, and tourists, what about us? We just want access. And so we're going to talk a bit about that on Sunday. We also have coming up April 13th and 14th, Praise Academy is going to be doing their production, Speak Live. This is the production that we were disqualified for. We're going to restage that, and we're restaging it. For those of you who are joining and might not know, there is a court case with that where we were disqualified from NIFTA, and we felt that our constitutional rights were breached. And so there is a case that will be coming up in the courts, and so we are doing this production free of cost to the public, but then asking for donation at this event. It's going to be at Combermere School, and sometime this evening, once we can get the flyer up, the flyer will be up, and we are going to invite you to to come out and to see the production for yourself. Right, see the production. Some of you would have seen parts of it on YouTube, but you can come out and see the production, see what all this is about, and get the message of the production. And it's going to be at Combermere School, April 13th and 14th, and you're going to see those flyers that are going to go out, and we ask you to share it out for us every time that you see it, because we're raising funds. They're also traveling to Trinidad. Right, they're traveling to Trinidad with this production, and we're going to need your help to go to Trinidad to share the message in Trinidad, and as I said, also for the court case. All right, so I wanted to get those announcements out the way. I do have a couple more announcements, but we will give that as the night goes on. But let me use the opportunity to welcome quite a number of you who are now on. It's now 417 of you on. And I just want to mention David, who is the first on at 5:57. Welcome, David. ADG, welcome. Clive Osborne, welcome. Clive Osborne says, good evening to all the loyal opposition. Keep pressing on. Change is inevitable. Just stay focused. I love that. Change is inevitable, and change is here. Yes, Cecilia Milia, welcome. Good night, my loyal opposition. She says, good evening, Yuseline King. Sylvia Rock, good evening. CG, good evening. CG, I think you need to make some placards to St. Joseph. I can feel that one is coming up. You're going to hear more of that on Sunday, but CG, get ready this week. We are going down to St. Joseph, it seems like. Margaret Pollard, good evening. Diana Husbands, good evening. Diana Seeley. Two Dianas in the house. Diana Seeley, good evening. Sanchez, how are you? Good evening. I hope you had a peaceful day. Rose Green, good evening. FX Trading, good evening. Oh, my Lord. Emerson Bob, good evening. Marcia, good evening. Heathcliff, how are you? How are you? Yes, blessed Good Friday to you. Victorious Queen, good evening. Sandra Franklin, how are you doing? Wonderful, wonderful. Erwin Nurse, Erwin, hope you had a peaceful day. Llewellyn Eiffel. See, I got the name right now, Llewellyn. Sir Alfred Benjamin, NYC, Brooklyn, New York City. Graham Husbands, Joy and Faith. And I just wanted to say hi, welcome to those in the diaspora who are watching. You know, you're my people. You guys make it happen. And you're part of Barbados. You hear? Don't let anybody fool you. Rhonda Paris, Joy and Faith, Galvis. Welcome. Beige and Brit, welcome. Far away, how are you? Far away. Beige and Brit is watching from London. Romeo Hinkson. Oh, wonderful. Denzel Grant. Wendy Ford Griffith. Cynthia Thorpe. Hi, Cynthia. How are you? Bob Badgett. These names are funny. Easy D. Hi, Easy D, welcome. Liana Bell, good evening. Sandra Watkins, good evening. AD2, good evening. Mr. B, good evening. Pedro Gemma, good evening. Good evening. Denise Moore, oh my Lord. Sheila E from Queens. Hey, Sheila. I used to live in Queens, Sheila. Judith and Clark. Good evening, Sandra Brewster. Paul Messiah. TMWS and University of Education is in session. I'm telling you, get ready. Nigel Newton is coming up in about 5-6 minutes. Rachel Thornhill. Guys, I can't call anybody else because time is going, but you know, Thelma Yearwood, I sneak in a little one there. Welcome to everybody, and we are so glad that you've joined. Remember to like, to share, and to subscribe. Please, very important. But before we go on, you know, we've got stuff to do. We have to play the national anthem has to be played because that's our theme song. That's our theme song. It's the national Yes, people. No, we're ready. No, we're ready. We've had our theme song. Now we are ready. And listen, we don't want, this is teaching time. We don't want any interruptions. So it's time. Make sure that you like and you share already. And this is our song, and we are focused. We are focused. I want to tell you that change is here, Barbados. Change is here. We are in a season of change. We keep pushing, we keep working. Don't give up. Don't just look at what you're seeing around you. Don't focus your mind just on what you see around you. There's so much happening that you can't see. There is so much going on, and we believe that great things are ahead of us. Now, tonight, I promise you that we have Mr. Nigel Newton is on with us tonight. And tonight he's going to be talking about on a topic, sick and broken, gliding beyond the crossroad, right? Sick and broken, gliding beyond the crossroad. And Nigel Newton is a lecturer at the community college, and he is also was a probation officer and a philosopher, and he has done extensive research for us tonight. And so I want us to just to get ready, because this is going to be very, very informative. All right. So let's welcome Mr. Nigel Newton to the Marcia Week show once again. Good night, sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Marcia, for having me on your show again tonight. I think within the last 2 or 3 weeks, uh, several of the persons whom I met were wondering when I would be next on the Marcia Week show.
Yes.
I think I think it was on Wednesday night, or just last week as well. I saw in the chat two persons requesting my presence on the Marcia Week show. And well, loyal uh, members of this opposition, here I am, and I'm going to be speaking to you on a very, very important subject because it is acutely relevant to what is happening in Barbados at this time, particularly the Marcia weeks, particularly the event that is taking place in the Joes River area. Yeah, sick and broken, gliding beyond the crossroads. And comrades, I am I confidently express my profound gratitude for the victories we have won thus far in the struggle for truth, justice, ethical leadership, and good governance in our nation. May the spirit of wisdom be our constant traveling companion, and may we be granted the foresight, insight, and vision for the battles ahead. The aim of tonight's presentation is twofold. First, identify and explain the correlation between the Arab and Western European invasion and conquest of our ancient homeland, Africa, and our powerless, depressed, and mendicant condition in the world. And secondly, to explain why the concerned citizens of our beleaguered nation must rise up in mass civil disobedience against this disrespectful, abusive, dictatorial, and corrupt government of Barbados. Our efforts to remove the government demands that we approach the battlefield with a clear historical understanding. We must conduct an incisive investigation into the correlational impact and implications of the Arab and Western European aggression against our ancestors and its deep-seated lingering effect upon us in 2024. How do we achieve our objectives? We will by pursuing a phenotypically specific and culturally relevant spiritual and philosophical analysis of history and the legacy of Arab and European conquests of and colonization in Africa. We must also examine our capacity to resolve the constitutional hiatus of May 24, 2018 and January 19, 2022 general election. The prolonged absence of sagacious and ethical governance yearns for an incisive understanding of the consequence of the conquest and colonial domination of Africa. The life-changing, mind-altering implications of Arab and European barbarism and genocidal behavior against African people must, of urgent necessity, be placed within their candid historical and political context. We cannot continue to ignore the deep-seated, pervasive, spiritual, emotional, psychiatric, social, economic, and broader political implications of the legacy of Arab and European barbarism, which continues to impact our lives in 2024. The contextualization of this legacy is the mirror through which we will decipher the attitude and behavior of the Prime Minister and her sick-minded government towards us. It also triggers the solutions to government's attitude and betrayal in the mismanagement of our nation. Now, previously, we examined the role of one Professor Madden of Oxford University in the training of British administrators in the colonization of Africa. Now, recall the venting of his disgust and frustration with what he called the primitive nature of traditional African democracy. Also note his declaration that that primitive system of African democracy had to be destroyed before the British system of indirect rule could be effective. He was one of, I'm sorry, indirect rule, I must say, I should indicate, indirect rule was brutally imposed upon Africa by Sir Frederick de Lugard. He was one of the most important architects of British colonial rule in Africa. Lugard was born in India, and after a distinguished career there, he was sent to Africa to secure its conquest. Sir Frederick de Lugard was regarded as one of the most impressive colonizing agents in Africa. He was credited with bringing Uganda and Nigeria on the British heels. Sir Frederick Lugard was the architect of the British staple policy of indirect rule, as outlined in his book, The Dual Mandate in British Tropical Africa. Dr. Umar Bello opined that the dual mandate forms or constructs the theoretical justification for the colonial occupation of Africa and argued for ways of its effective political control. Bello also suggested that it grounded the philosophy and ideology of the British Empire and justified its conquest and administrative style. The dual mandate was to open Africa to the civilizing world, and at the same time open the African mind to civilization, that it posits a binary, that is, social rules involving a civilizer and one to be civilized, that it was a paternalistic and racially superior philosophy. Bellow further argued that indirect rule was a plan to use existing tribal structures and traditions as conduits to establish regulations, while English officials worked behind the scenes and could exercise veto power. Clearly, the implications. Clearly, the system of indirect rule objectified Africans, such that they became objects of contempt, invisibility, and benign neglect. Unmistakably, the attitude, conduct, and behavior of the emotional and psychological disposition of the Prime Minister and her inept government are incontrovertible evidence of their rootedness in the racist, psychopathic, and narcissistic attitude of the British colonizer. A comprehensive analysis of the correlation between the dual mandate in British tropical Africa and the colonization of Africa and the West Indies is undeniable. The correlational implications of that legacy uh, of that system of governance and the British educational policy for its subjects is of supreme importance in our diagnosis and removal of the contagion of this administration. Should we fail to act, we will never successfully transition Barbados from a British colonial project, preempt its descent into a neo-colonial Chinese project, or rescue it from the ignorant, dictatorial, and abusive mismanagement of this government. Neither will we transition our nation into a people-owned, revolutionary, democratic Republic of Barbados. Comrades, the efficacy of our analysis calls for an incisive understanding of the nature and impact of the Arab and European colonial system on our agency, sovereignty, social and economic development, and capacity to govern ourselves according to our cultural register and philosophical foundation. It is therefore mandatory that we critically examine the psychology of Prospero, the colonizer, in the creation of Ariel, his agent, and his role in the corrosive influence in our subjugation. Concomitantly, we must never be in any doubt about the significant role played by Caliban, the revolutionary who resisted Prospero and Ariel in the elimination of the diabolical Prospero and his agent in our oppression. Now, let me pause here for a moment and explain. If you truly want to understand what I just said to you about Prospero, Ariel, and Caliban, I recommend that you visit Shakespeare's novel, The Tempest. Have a read of The Tempest, and you will have a good understanding of the significance of Caliban, Prospero, and Ariel. The success of our demand for justice, respect for our dignity, humanity, and the right to effectively participate in the governance of our nation hinges on an incisive analysis and understanding of the impact of the colonizers' contact with us in pre-colonial Africa. We cannot remain helpless victims of historical amnesia. An awareness of the backdrop and condition which led to the mayhem that devastated the ancient high culture and civilizations of pre-colonial Africa, that spawned our powerless, mendicant, and impoverished condition in the world, is of supreme relevance in our endeavor to assert ourselves as a people worthy of respect and self-determination. Should we fail to act, we will never liberate ourselves from the spiritual, emotional, social, economic, and broader political consequences, political containment, oppression, and domination of Arab and Europeans. Such consciousness is also critically significant in determining our attitude and response to the newly arrived vultures plundering our natural resources at the expense of the health and well-being of African people and the irreparable degradation of the magnificent African environment. It will further inform and dictate our personal and national philosophy of life, nationalist skepticism, and the ideological core of our defense strategy and concept of development. And bear in mind that concept of development when you ponder what is happening in Joe's River tonight. This awareness will also nurture our attitude, conduct, and behavior towards ourselves and each other in our confrontation with our enemy. We must never surrender to partisan political violence. Let's examine the characteristics of the colonial order. The decisive factor in our efforts to assert our agency and fundamental human right of self-determination and the exercise of power in our strategic interests and defense is an unsanitized, note, an unsanitized knowledge of the policies which created and consolidated our plight in the world. Policies such as rendering the African people landless, exactly what is happening in Joe's River. Containment, dislocation, and oppression, economic deprivation and pauperization, racial and cultural bastardization, social and psychological re-education, social engineering, and reconstruction. Each of these policies played a major role in dismantling African manhood, African womanhood, social and religious systems, and their capacity for self-governance. Part 2. What is civil disobedience? Whenever any mention is made of civil disobedience, governments and those in power react with consternation and extreme violence. We, however, must not be embarrassed or fearful or feel guilty about our decision to engage in civil disobedience in our struggle against the insensitive, dictatorial, and disrespectful government. I am satisfied that a precise definition of civil disobedience is available to us within the political philosophy of Henry David Thoreau. In his Thoreau's objection to the corruption of the American government, the American war against Mexico, and the enslavement of African people, he declared, "We are accountable only to God for our behavior, and thus we have a duty to ourselves and others to follow what is deemed right rather than what is created by fallible laws." Think about what is the laws, the legislation in Barbados today. He resented the Slavery Act and declared that men should follow their hearts and conscience. Thoreau fearlessly fought against the corruption and injustices in the American government. He declared, "I heartily accept the motto that government is best when governs less, and I should like to see it acted up to more rapidly and systematically." He validated and defended his rejection of the unjust, corrupt, and undemocratic government American system of governance by affirming his right of civil disobedience. He declared, "Civil disobedience is a call for every citizen to value his conscience above his government. Government of any sort, including democracy, does not possess more wisdom or justice than its individual citizens, people like you and me. that it is every citizen's responsibility to avoid acquiescence. Civil disobedience is a call for all citizens to refuse to participate in or encourage in any way an unjust institution, justifying civil disobedience. I stoutly object to the accusation that we are inciting Barbadians to riot. I remember hearing that or seeing that in the chat. We are taught that Barbados, as a democracy, has the third oldest parliament in the British Commonwealth. We are very proud and boastful of our democratic lineage, and we gleefully proclaim to the world our rich and illustrious British legacy. I certainly no longer subscribe to that ideology. You may very well ask, comrade, what nonsense are you talking? Given our status in the world, and given all that we have achieved, what rubbish are you saying? In my view, civil disobedience, the incontrovertible, I'm looking at the justifying civil disobedience. In my view, the incontrovertible historical evidence demonstrates that Barbados has never been, is not now, and neither will it be a democracy unless and until we, the people, rise up and take charge of our destiny. We must desist from the habit of allowing others to define who we are, or permitting them to prescribe the concepts, ideas, principles, systems, and institutions which impact our consciousness and govern our lives. And think, comrades, about the effort of the United States to impose its agenda of the LGBTQ plus on African countries and other Black nations around the world. Our system of governance is not a democracy. If so, then what is it? Let me define Western democracy for you. Western democracy is a strategic, ideological, socio-economic, and political alliance against African people. Its alleged democratic system of governance and established constitutional order are xenophobic, psychopolitical, and philosophical strategies for inculcating and maintaining what the Africana Studies scholar Michael Tolleson defined as agency reduction formation in African Americans. And that goes for all Africans globally. The ideological core and security of this alliance are embedded in the 9 areas of people activity. And I invite you to read Neely Fuller's book, The United Compensatory System Complex, and Dr. Francis Caswell's in The ISIS Papers, Keys to the colors. Now, the 9 areas of people activity are economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I'm sorry there. This system of governance we have inherited from our former colonial enslavers is simply governance by stealth and the imposition of unjust and oppressive laws. For example, the Cybercrimes Bill, a brutal, undemocratic, and demagogic system which continues to control and dictate our ascendancy, how we govern ourselves, and our place in the conceptual universe. And with reference to the conceptual universe, you heard me mention earlier concepts, ideas, and principles. Now, at the level of the conceptual universe, there are ideas and concepts that are developed that would guide humanity in or on the journey of life. And regrettably, the conceptual universe is dominated by people who do not look like us. And that is why we cannot allow them to dictate the concepts and ideas that govern our lives. It is a system which, in the tradition of our former enslaving oppressors, is now being used and abused by the Prime Minister and her government to destroy our nation and turn us over into the hands of a diabolical global elite intent on enslaving us. Opposition. Comrades, that agenda must not succeed. It must not succeed. It is our duty to see that it does not succeed. I therefore proclaim, be it resolved that we, the people in whom absolute power resides, affirm and declare that governments are not made in heaven. We elect them. We, however, accept the significance of a national institution in the management of our nation. We also accept and declare that we, the citizens of this nation, Barbados, have an ethical duty of responsible citizenship, a duty which empowers us to hold the government accountable. We further affirm and declare that the government of Barbados is morally obligated to listen to and respectfully respond truthfully to our concerns. We therefore declare and affirm that whenever Any government oversteps its prescribed rights, duties, and responsibilities, disrespects our dignity and humanity, violate our fundamental human rights, and act against our well-being, that we have the right and power of civil disobedience. We must never be ashamed or afraid to exercise that right. Now, after her overwhelming victory in the 2018 elections, the newly elected Prime Minister took unconscionable advantage of the unexpected constitutional hiatus created by the 30-0 seat majority in the House of Assembly of Barbados. She proceeded to enact a series of legislation which triggered consternation and dread in Barbadians. In the midst of a global pandemic, she prorogued Parliament and called a general election for January 19, 2022, 18 months before it was constitutionally due. I hereby, in her haste to destroy Senator Caswell Franklyn, she was reckless about the harm inflicted on innocent Barbadians. Regrettably, the Prime Minister obtained another absolute majority of 30-0 seats in the House of Assembly. Tonight, her destructive rampage continues. Government. For example, the Prime Minister leads a government which enacted a series of oppressive legislation upon Barbadians. Note the following legislation: the Charter of Barbados, the Domestic Partnership Bill, facilitated the court's striking down of the buggery law, the administering of the IDB computer test by the Ministry of Education, which violated the parental rights, duties, and responsibilities, and their children's right of privacy, the Child Justice Bill, the Child Protection Act, the Cyber Crimes Bill, and the amendment to the National Insurance Scheme. Concomitantly, let us not forget the enactment of the historic 1688 and 1789 Slave Code for Barbados. These codes continue to influence the enactment of legislation in 2024. The Prime Minister's conduct and behavior towards Barbadians, particularly the Marciawitz show are classic examples of that single-minded imitation of the criminal behavior of our former enslavers. This government mirrors a modern-day replica of the colonizing crime syndicate venting its diabolical agenda against unsuspecting Barbadians. We, the loyal, patriotic citizens of Barbados, must rise up in defense of our beleaguered nation. We have no choice but a massive civil disobedience against this corrupt, insensitive, disrespectful, and dictatorial government. Let me issue a word of caution. Based on the misguided expression of concern by the Prime Minister about possible acts of treason or sedition and the pending cybercrimes bill, do not be surprised by government's attempt to initiate court proceedings against us and Barbadians citizens on charges of high treason, sedition, or trump-up charges of attempts to overthrow a democratically elected government and the so-called constitutional order. Comrades, do not back down in the face of such contemplations. We, the sovereign citizens of Barbados, have a moral duty of responsible citizenship in the governance of our nation. We have a constitutional right and duty to hold the government accountable. Let us never be ashamed of asserting our right of civil disobedience against this or any government which acts against our best interests and well-being. In my personal philosophy of life, I affirm and declare that no individual, group, institution, or government has the authority, right, duty, or moral justification to control humanity. There is absolutely no excuse enabling them to disregard, disrespect, infringe, or violate the dignity and humanity of an individual or abuse his or her fundamental human rights and freedom. They do not have the legal or moral right to unconditionally control or dictate the destiny of citizens. Patriots, remain strong. I also affirm and declare that each citizen has an unchallenged expectation of freedom, justice, and the unalienable right to pursue the meaning and purpose of life with dignity, responsibility, and accountability. He or she has the right, duty, and moral responsibility to rebel against any organization, institution, or government which abuses their designated power and authority by denying, violating, and disrespecting the citizens' right, dignity, humanity, and or parental rights, duties, and responsibilities. Against this backdrop, therefore, I am urging you to ponder the condition of our nation, paralyzed, sick, and broken at destiny's crossroads. Government, the private sector, civilizational institutions such as the church, the judicial, the justice system, the education system, the media are all mortally wounded by a diabolical contagion. The family structure is also mortally wounded. Patriots, remain strong. Our nation is enmeshed in moral decadence, endemic corruption, injustice, exploitation, sick-minded revelry, and confusion. Barbados is dying from a lack of moral leadership, statesmanship, and a clearly defined political philosophy and nationalist ideology. Brother and sister Barbadians, we have one of two choices. First, continue on the path of revelry and blind partisan political warfare. Or two, rise up in massive civil disobedience against this government in defense of our nation. Ma'at, righteousness and order, has been cast out, and Isfet, or evil and chaos, is in the council hall. The way of God is violated, the land is in turmoil, and there is mourning everywhere. I recall Judas Maccabeus on lamenting the sacrilege committed against his people and nation, cried out, "Woe is me! Why was I born to see this, the ruin of my people and the ruin of her holy city, and to sit idle while it is given into the hands of enemies and the sanctuary into the hands of strangers. Her temple has become like a man disgraced. Her glorious ornaments have been carried off as spoils. Her infants have been murdered in the streets. Her young men by the sword of the enemy. What nation has not taken its share in her realm and laid its hands on her possession? Socrates, in defending himself against the sentence of death before the 30 tyrants in the Greek government, upon being promised acquittal if he recanted, declared, "Men of Athens, I honor and love you, but I shall obey God rather than you. And while I have life and strength, I shall never cease from the practice of teaching of philosophy, exhorting anyone whom I meet after my manner, and convincing him, saying, O my friend, why do you who are citizens of the great and mighty and wise city of Athens care so much about laying up the greatest amount of money and honor and reputation and so little about wisdom and truth? Are you not ashamed of this? Brother and sister Barbadians, loyal members of the people's opposition, our nation is broken and dying at destiny's crossroads. James Russell Lovell reminds us, once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide. Do not be cowed into fear, passivity, or apology. Rise up in massive civil disobedience in defense of our nation against this corrupt, dictatorial, and disrespectful government. I thank you and I await your question.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. I almost say Dr. Nigel Newton. Thank you so much. Very well researched, and we know it's we gave him much longer time than we normally give to our guests because Mr. Newton has been waiting a while, and we have so many things he's prepared and so on. And I said to him, "Come on tonight, and let's honor the work that you have done." Mr. Franklyn, good night. You were here to hear 95% of this presentation tonight, and I saw you there writing away and so on. Any questions or comments for Nigel? And I want to ask if there's anybody has any comments or questions in the to place them in the chat, and we have literally 10 minutes to do this, okay, because we're well over time. Go ahead, Mr. Franklyn. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Good night, everyone. Good night to the loyal opposition. Nigel, great job as usual. I listed, as Marcia said, it was there for 95%. I didn't know how much, of course I came on a little bit after you started, and I rushed for my book. Staying Power: The History of Black People in Britain. It's a great book, and I was going back to some of the things that you were talking about, and sourcing it because some of your sources, this author also sourced, and
Okay.
one thing that because you don't have a lot of time, I can sum up your presentation like this. This government believes that we are inferior to the people outside of Barbados, basically white people, as British tried to get us to believe during slavery, and they acknowledged that we weren't inferior, but it was to suit their. And let me find it. Says the custom the king's customs, meaning the treasury, the customs works. It was just for that. They needed the labor and to strengthen the custom of the king. That was what slavery was all about, to get Britain richer. And they acknowledge it in various speeches. I'm not going to read them now, but we bought into it, and we bought into this nonsense about that the white people were the great civilizing force. They even said that, and that the British civilization was the best thing that ever happened to the world. No, the best thing that ever happened to Britain was the money that extracted from India and these countries in the India, including Pakistan, because Pakistan was part of India at one stage.
Yes,
That
yes.
but Barbados, even though India was so vast and had so much, Barbados was the jewel in the British crown because they got more out of
Yes.
Barbados than any place
Right.
else in the world, because Barbados contributed the sugar, the cotton, because we used to have cotton, to the English fortunes, and they then tried to brainwash us, and the brainwashing was effective because we bought into it. We bought into it, not realizing that the slaves that came from Africa were teachers, were great statesmen, historians, mathematicians. They brought them here and put them in the fields and forced them on pain of punishment to speak their language. That's how come we got so much different dialects now, because the language that they spoke was a bit difficult. So we got Bajan, because sometimes we didn't understand the English, but become a close approximation. But those people could recite the Quran, from cover to cover. And we called them heathens and all kind of names, try to demean us. But the British, the African, was far more advanced than anything Britain ever had. The problem with Africa is that somebody else invented gunpowder first. So when the Africans were fighting with spears, the British were using cannonballs and muskets. And of course, you could duck behind a tree and shoot. But to use a spear or a bow, you got to be out there to fight him, fellow, so he can go straight at you. So we had the disadvantage, and that's why Africa was conquered. Nothing more, They had gunpowder. The Africans didn't. And that is the only thing, that was the civilizing force, and they used African labor. And right now, people who find themselves in government, who don't understand that, and who still buy into this thing, like Miss Motley, she still feel that the greatest folks on earth is British. That's why she goes straight to England on her first week in office to bring Englishmen down here to help her run the economy. All those people did was rip her off, $27 million US, and then 28,000 a month, every month, for another 18 months, because she believed that the white people were better off and better and no more than us. But they just have to realize that they were duped and do something about it in the next election. And next election does not necessarily mean the end of a 5-year term.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So very well said, Mr. Franklyn. There is a question, Mr. Newton, and I don't know if you can answer this in 1 minute. But Mr. Newton, are you hearing me? I'm not sure if you can answer it in 1 minute. There is a question. It says, can you, I think this is Calvin Mackenzie saying, Nigel, can you examine the role of British colonization without impact of Christianity? That's a big topic there. I don't know.
That's a program.
That's a whole program. But just we want to acknowledge the question at least. Is there anything you want to quickly say about this? Just really quickly, because we are over the time.
Well, Christianity or religion was the spear or the leading spear in the conquest of Africa. I know I just have a little time, but colonization and the conquest of Africa could not have occurred without Christianity. It is the bedrock of the domination of Africa. Remember, I mentioned the 9 areas of people activity, religion. Now, let me say quickly, the highest ideal that we as human beings aspire to is the God concept. The most basic activity that we as human beings engage in is reproduction, sexual reproduction. The European has colonized from God to sexual reproduction.
Yes.
And in other words, no, to answer the question, we cannot conceive of the conquest of Africa without the religion.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Newton. Someone has been asking throughout the program, what is the practical solution? But I think I hear you. The call to action, you're saying the practical solution is massive civil disobedience. Is that what you're saying is the practical solution to this?
Non-cooperation. We don't have to cooperate. We don't have to cooperate with an oppressive, disrespectful, dictatorial government. Look at what is happening. Okay, for example, the Hope Project, $60 million, 470 odd acres of land given back to the colonizers' descendants. And Barbadians cannot purchase a spot of land at a reasonable price. Do we, as loyal citizens of Barbados, cooperate with that corruption? So we have to take action. Do not cooperate.
Yes. So that is the answer to the practical that you're saying. Do not
Yes,
cooperate.
indeed.
We will have to reach that point. There's a question here, the last question, Mr. Newton, and I have to finish. But I know there's just so much coming out of this presentation. Question to Mr. Newton: do you feel that the methods being used by the Motley administration to enforce this agenda on the people of Barbados is of her own doing or outside forces?
A combination of both. A combination of both. Outside forces are, yes, meddling in the affairs of Barbados. But if the Prime Minister was not amenable to those pressures, and if there were, look, no, she is complicit in it. The government of Barbados is complicit in everything that is going wrong in Barbados, including, okay, who allowed the IDB to administer the computer test in the schools?
Yeah.
Who permitted that?
So you're saying that the government is complicit.
Of course.
Mr. Franklyn, I'm thinking we need to have I believe that Mr. Newton needs to come back on just for us to because it was a long presentation and we need to be able to break it down. What do you think, Mr. Franklyn?
Well, I might be biased, but I love listening to Nigel. I learned. So I don't think you should ask me because I going to say yes every time. Without even analysis, because I'm used to hearing him and I like what he's saying. I agree with him 95% of the time, or probably a bit more. So asking me, and you asking wrong man.
Yeah. Yeah, but we had some other things lined up, but Mr. I want to say anytime that we can get you on, I think it's important, especially as we're dealing with the Joes River situation. I would
Exactly.
like, yes, and I will speak to you again on Sunday where you come in and be part of our as a part of our guests for Sunday as we deal with the Joes River. I think that is important. And somebody says tonight, civil disobedience does not necessarily mean violence. It is just a lack of cooperation. So we take, for example, the Joes River situation. What are we going to do? Are we going to sit down because they've now changed the laws, which you're going to hear about on Sunday? So we want you to join in on Sunday. We're going to continue this kind of discussion, and we do have two guests that are going to come on Sunday to be with us. here to talk about the Joes River. This is what Nigel is. This is a practical example of what Nigel is speaking about, and
Yes.
so we want to have him back on Sunday to have that discussion. Mr. Newton, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. As usual, very enlightening, exhilarating. Um, yes, he does. ECD does bring a different angle on things, and we sometimes have to be patient and let it come out. We are all different, and we present in different ways, and so I love it. It's fresh and it's very interesting. Thank you so much, Mr. Newton. God bless you.
You-
Thank you.
You're most welcome, Marcia.
See you
Thank
on
you.
Friday. See you on Sunday. On the screen, you're seeing uh, a flyer for Speak Live, Mr. Franklyn. We are seeking to remount this production, and which is kind of very similar to what Mr. Newton is speaking about. This is a production that was disqualified at NIFCA based on persons what I would say belief system, and so NCF decided to disqualify the production. The production is going to be staged in Barbados April 13th and 14th. We're not cooperating, we're not covering, we're not agreeing with the NCF. And that's part of the whole, just being civil disobedience, or, we're saying we're defying them. And so we are putting this production on. I guess it's not so much like civil disobedience, because it's not that we are breaking the law. They broke the law. I would say. So we are going to be at Combermere School. We do have a law case, a court case, and so it is going to cost us some money. And so we're using this production to raise funds for it. In addition to that, our students are traveling to Trinidad to share this production with the young people in Trinidad. So we're asking you to come out to Combermere, bring the entire family, and it's April 13th and 14th. Yeah. And it's April 13th and 14th, and it's going to be at Combermere School Hall. And we're asking you to come out and to support it. And to, it's free of cost. It's free of cost. And we ask you to bring a donation for young people to help them to get to Trinidad, and also to cover for the court case. All right. Thank you so very much for your indulgence in that. Mr. Franklyn, I trust you had a great Friday. And this is, when you listen to Nigel, your mind is always just going. But I know we've got to kind of come back down to look at some things here. There's a whole issue of Lester Vaughan School that I thought that it'd be interesting to look at. But I did ask you how you were doing, and I didn't wait for you to answer. I'm so sorry.
No, you asked if I had a good day. I'm alive and kicking. So from that perspective, I had a good day. My phone rang at 19 minutes after 5 this morning with people trying to get answers for questions that they had. They didn't remember it was Good Friday. They just know they got to get me before I get to work and that kind of things. And it hadn't stopped until I just turned off to come on the show, because I didn't want the ringing of the phones to bother the program. And I was doing a little check-in myself, because I saw something in the paper that disturbed me. The government want to go to Parliament tomorrow to do a supplementary. I cannot believe my eyes. These people are completely mad. Nobody does a supplementary a day before the government shuts down, but the financial year shuts down, because how are you going to spend it? And I actually reached out to a permanent secretary, and this is what he said. Let me just pull it up for you, because people would think I'm making these things up. So I bet the person who knows, because I might be believing that because I was in service a lot of years ago, and I might figure that I don't know what I was talking about. So this is what the permanent secretary said. And I'm not talking about old permanent secretary either. This is the current permanent secretary. It says the process for supplemental requests is normally completed before the estimates for the new year and are published and adopted after the debate. That process was completed before the budget was presented on March 18, 2024. Given the unstructured way in which the administration functions, it is not surprising that supplemental requests were made after the estimates were published and debated. You don't do it like how the government is doing it, but I think
Mr. Franklin, before you go on, let me just read a letter from a newspaper and give the people a backdrop, right? And on it, because people are asking questions. So in today's paper, it says the headline says, House may meet tomorrow. In an unexpected development, Parliament may be convened tomorrow to consider more government spending before the financial year ends on Sunday. So this is what Mr. Franklin is making reference to. So your Parliament, Barbados, they are going to convene tomorrow, Saturday, to consider more government spending before the financial year ends on Sunday. Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw, leader of government business in the House of the Assembly, served notice of this last evening, moments after members approved 97.6 million in supplementary funding for several ministries and departments. The lower chamber was adjourned until April 23rd, but might be called back if additional monies flow into government's coffers today, Good Friday, she announced. Okay, go ahead now, Mr. Continue.
right? So that sounds like a government that is absolutely broke, not only financially but intellectually, morally bankrupt, everything. You cannot spend that money if it comes in on Sunday because there might be some remittances from the United States, or Saturday, or today because the government in the United States, it is not I don't know if it's a public holiday out there, but they are proposing to spend money that they do not have. They are proposing to spend money, and this seems to be money that is already committed. You cannot commit money that is not already in the estimates. What you do, if you run short of what you estimate that you will need, you will come back for a supplementary. But this seems but you cannot now come back for a supplementary and go through the process and say, well, we run short and we're going to have this money available on a particular day, and wait for this money to come in and then spend it, because you cannot spend it after the 31st of March. So how is the government going to accomplish this other than by breaking the rules? Or are they going to take it now and put it under some below the line account and then spend it that way? Because I know of a case where a person tried that, not to steal or anything. He got caught by what he did. He put money, he got invoices approved and checks written before the work was done, because it was coming to end the financial year, and he ran into trouble because you cannot get this money until the work is completed. But because the year was finishing, the financial year was finishing, he wanted, and the money would have gone back in, and then he got trouble getting back a supplementary to get it back out. He had the accounts, the accounts department approved pay checks, but held on to the checks until the work is done. Even that is illegal in Barbados. And what the government trying to do now? But I just don't understand the madness that this government is. This power economics power, because power is go and just like go and thief some money and get something, and then come back again and steal a little bit to get another fix. This government operates like that. No structure. And if you tell them, that you are coming for supplementaries, all from the beginning of the last year, the last financial year, up till the end, it tells me that the estimates were severely understated. So they give you the impression that they were going to spend so much, but almost every other ministry in Barbados had to go for supplementary during the year. That tells me that they underestimated. So the estimates was just a charade.
A charade. Mr. Franklin, can you explain a little bit more about supplements? What are those?
All right. Then every year the government estimates joint from December or November, December the year before, coming out the end of the year, they get ministries to estimate what their spending will be like. That process, they will go to the Ministry of Finance with the Prime Minister presiding at these meetings, and they will say, well, yes, you wanted this, but we can't give you this at this time. You will get that, and you might ask for $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
But when they go through the process to say, well, look, we can't afford 50 million, we'll give you 40. That's the process for the estimates. When they approve all that in cabinet, then they then bring it to the House for the House to approve. That is why I complain that it makes no sense a minister coming to the House and asking another minister questions because they would have approved the estimates. The estimates is that big book that you would have seen me with during the previous shows. I always got it close to me here. So this tells you all the money that the government is planning to spend. So it isn't something that you do overnight. It takes months. So after this, let's say now you run short, or there's a likelihood that you will run short because your estimated revenue or even expenditure really was understated because one of the prices have gone up or something has changed. You then have to go back to the house because the government can't go and take money from one place and put it to the next. Unless they tell you get money to buy a car, and the permanent secretary or somebody say, no, sir, maybe we could get a truck for this same price. You can't go buy a truck. You have to go back and get it changed. So they go back to the house and say, well, look, the estimates were understated, or the prices have changed, or something has happened, and we need more money. But sometimes you see that, for instance, with CBC, I saw CBC over the years, they come back to get things to pay national insurance. That means that the estimates were poorly done because you can't tell me that you want money to pay national insurance because that should have been estimated and put here because you know how much staff you got. But that has always been a problem. But don't tell me that after you finish your estimates for this year and did the budget, you come back for money to spend in this current year that will finish on Sunday. Now, how are you going to spend this money? How are you going to get it in? How are you going to prepare these vouchers? Who are you going to pay? Unless they already have this money spent and already spent, but benefit to pay the people. Because let me tell you something. Every ministry tries to get their people, if you owe money, if people send invoices and stuff, they try to get those invoices paid before the 31st or not. You're in trouble because you can't spend that money after the 31st. This government, just don't worry about following any particular rules. They do what they like, and it's obvious. So it don't make sense having a supplementary now. And it sounds so paro, that saying that if we get money coming in between tomorrow and the next day, we will be able to do that supplement. It doesn't seem to be planning. You don't plan with an if. It is especially not with money, not money that you have committed to spend. You don't if, you know where it's coming from. When you plan to spend money, these estimates tell you, I am going to spend A, B, and C, and it's going to come from D, E, and F. That's what the estimates are all about. But we are hoping that some money coming from somewhere. Hopefully, this is what I don't know. Probably we could probably get 7,500 from a few people and see if that would help. I don't know.
But as you said, it seems like when you live in hand to mouth, or you have no planning, and you're just waiting. Is something going to happen? You're right. It's kind of like the paro. They're waiting. They don't know what's going to happen. So I totally understand what you're saying. It's crazy, And somebody said, well, I mean, she did say she don't know maths or English. Because she's pretending to be the Minister of Finance. I think we need to play. Let's play that right now. Let's play that.
I love this shit.
I have to agree with sentence. I have to see which one it is. But I agree with agreeing with Sanchez. So let's play that right now.
That mass nor English, English. Pretending to be good, pretending to be good, just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good, just pretending to care about people. 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 That mass nor English, English. Pretending to be good, pretending to be good, just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good, just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. Just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. Just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. Just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. Just pretending to care about people.
I tell you, Mr. Franklin is as somebody said, the perfect timing, because I don't know what kind of minister of finance. And the thing is, these people, Mr. Franklin, they campaign and how they're so bright, and nobody else. So people say, who else could ever be able to run this country? But they run in the place like a patty shop in Jamaica. We'd say like a patty shop, or like a shop. Not even the corner stores don't run like that. What's going on?
These people cannot run a snow cone car. And honestly, some days they wouldn't put sugar in the mixture. They just don't know what they're doing. Sanchez, he says that she's pretending to be finance minister, which is true, because Ryan Strong actually is one messing up, and he is the actual guy on the ground. Because when you hear customs and bra people talking, when they talk about the minister, they talk about Ryan Strong. Mind you, the minister of finance can't be minister of finance and not resident in Barbados, because for all intents and purposes, May is not resident here. She's away too often. Mm-hmm. We have a non-resident prime minister. That's like one thing we had
to run in the government like a one-door shop in the village. Really?
Yeah. But those one-door shops in the village used to be able to, when the truck comes from the merchants in town, you used to have money to pay. Now, the people coming in, they ain't got money to pay. She's looking to get some to come in over the weekend so she can pay some of her debts. And you can't tell me that you are looking to make money today, Friday, Saturday, and the thing is, in order to get this money, look what will happen. To get a supplementary done, you have to get all the documents prepared to get to the house. Okay? Then you will then have to wake up the president to get this thing signed, because you can't spend it unless it is signed. And then wake up somebody in ministry to get this thing, and the ministry, bishop of ministry, they can spend the money. Then to wake up somebody in treasury to prepare whatever instrument you're going to use for paying. This is something like what they did with the principals. Prime Minister came in about 11 o'clock, start calling people to tell them we want to put these principals today. And people got to stop. People had to turn off the stove because they were cooking Sunday lunch to get the paperwork done, to get the commission to make the appointments, then to get the president to sign them, then for the president to sign off. All this happened in a few hours. And then in the afternoon, when everything finished, so it's going to be a very busy day for those people in the treasury Sunday, because then they're going to get the money paid by Sunday midnight.
I tell you, because and somebody said she's hardly here, and don't know math, can't count.
But you remember I told you so ever since that she
Yes,
can't
you
count.
did.
She can't add
You did.
because
You had been saying that. because that's one of the things that we have really, I know that I've been fooled to believe that, listen, these people, it is because she's not here why the country's not being run properly and so on. I've come to realize that there is, there's a lack of ability. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. Just looking at it, and I wasn't always there, as Mr. Franklin would tell you. My thing was that she's not, focused enough, etc. But no, I don't think that she has. That's not her thing. She's a networker. She's a good speaker. I still believe that she speaks well, but that's about it. I don't think she's a good manager, a good leader. I just don't believe that. That's just my personal view. You might have your view on the matter. But Mr. Franklin,
She's a
talk to
good
us
bully.
about Lester Vaughn. We want to know. I know you have a comment there, and let's talk about Lester Vaughn.
Marcia, I am troubled when senior civil servants seek to the lie. I was going to try to put it lower than that, but no, it's lying. Because when you know the truth and don't tell it and say something that approximate to the truth, it is a lie. Lester Vaughn School had this intervention by the environmental people who came in and they did this test, and they said, that the wells are not leaking anymore, and the thing is the air quality is good. But that was not the only problem at the school. Mind you, I don't believe that, but I will go from there. But the problem was not only the wells. When they did the smoke test, smoke was coming out from the ground. Smoke was coming out from the base of the toilets and certain walls, because the leaks were not only restricted to the covering of the wells. So when you go and fix the covering of the wells, and you don't really fix them, you put some grease on them. And so when you put the grease on them, for a couple of days, Marcia, let me read something to you, because it is going to make you laugh, honestly. This is a recommendation from these experts, these $30,000 reports. These reports cost $30,000. And the thing is, you go and get some person to do a study, to make recommendations. The problem still exists, and you come back to that same person to do the same report. He comes back to his old conclusions, just making different words.
Right, and it's $30,000 for the report.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Right? He says, therefore, it is important to conduct daily and or weekly checks of the integrity of the seals around the covers of the wells, septic tanks, and manholes, and covers for fractures, and immediately to fix and reseal these structures. Heavy grease is recommended as a secure sealant, and not silicone sealants, which may be waterproof, but not sour gas leak proof. Kadir. That is what he said last week on the 20th. All right? Now let me look page 8 on the 2018 report. Now listen to this. Remediation recommendations. All of the wells, septic tanks, and manholes and metal covers should be open. The covers inner surfaces should be cleaned, then reseated and sealed with heavy grease at least twice yearly. Some of the wells, septic tanks, and manhole walls and covers were broken. These wells should be checked monthly, and where there are cracks, they should be fixed and resealed. That's basically what he said in 2018, 16th of November 2018. And now on the 20th of March 2024, he's saying the same thing. But when they did that, the teachers were still getting sick. No, there was not a period where the teachers weren't getting sick. So it means that it's not only the manhole covers and these wells. It was something else, because teachers were going into classrooms and losing their voices mid lesson. The classes were not up on the manhole covers. So when you go and test out by the manhole covers, not because you have put some grease on them, and say you're gonna put this grease on every week, you know, and then the Ministry of Education, in the person of the Chief Education Officer, is telling the teachers to come to work, and if they get sick, go back home. Now that is called Russian roulette. Because you actually, let's say that one of those teachers is asthmatic. They come to work on the say-so of the government and get an asthma attack and don't get to the hospital on time. What will the government say to that? Fix the problem. Find out what it is. Get some experts. Instead of going to your private sector people, there is the environmental health division in the government who should make these inspections first. And if they don't have the expertise, then they will recommend them, not the chairman of the board going against somebody who has not, who comes out and make these fantastic reports, a lot of jargon that it looks like it's downloaded from the internet, and then come to conclusion, because I can't read a lot of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And mind you, then again, I'm not too bright, so I wouldn't be able to read these things, but I don't think very many people can read them and understand them.
You don't know much English.
I don't know much. I am pretending. I'm not pretending to know these things. All I can know, and I'm not pretending to know, I pretended to know English. And they know the English that they've written here. They're telling you that after I have made safe a building, I have to come and check every week to see if my work is done. Look, you have a house. You live in a house, Marcia. You call in the workmen, and the workmen fix your problems for you, and he gotta tell you, well, I gotta come back every week to check it. People be living there. That is madness. That's utter madness. And you cannot ask people to subject their children to this level of abuse. You know, and you are there. Children will not learn if they're sick. Mm-hmm. So when you hear that Lester Vaughan results are bad, it isn't bad because we haven't got the good teachers. It is bad because the children are too sick to take in what the teachers are telling them. So find the problems and fix it, and stop pelting $30,000 a pop at people to get reports that ain't making a sense, that ain't diagnosing the problem. You investigated and you thought you found the problem.
Yeah.
It is obvious that you didn't. You found part of the problem. So when the problem, when the thing flares up again, and it flares up then when you have rain, it flares up again. So you come back and say it is the same problem. No, it is that problem that you try to fix and more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because these things are happening in classrooms, these things happen in the bathrooms, these things are happening all over the place. They happen on the field. That is why they tell people do not go on the playing field to exercise, because it is dangerous. They may fix nothing on the playing field. They fix manhole covers. There are no manhole covers on the playing field. So yeah. What are they trying to do to the people at Lester Vaughan School? Get rid of some of them? Get rid of people's children?
So at the conclusion of the matter is this: are they going to obey, or is it going to be civil disobedience, as Nigel is saying? Because I thought I read something somewhere that the last couple of days that they are encouraging or calling back for the staff and the students to come back into school. Isn't it by next week that they're supposed to go back to school?
They were supposed to be back in school on Tuesday. Yes. I have advised the members of my union, do not set foot on that compound, because I don't care what those people have said. It isn't true. Now, mind you, they have published a report for the people, some stakeholders to see, and then they left out some of one report, and they have another official report. So they had two reports on one thing. Now, if
Yes,
people,
I heard that, and I actually have, while you're doing that, I'm going to look for it. Someone sent that to me this evening, that there was a paragraph that was taken out that referenced the complaints of teachers and students. But keep talking, and I'm going to read
right,
it for you, sir.
that paragraph, that page was taken out, but not because it was then renumbered properly, so it doesn't like you are missing something.
Mm.
All right, so it was an intended fraud, in
Oh
my
my
view.
goodness.
Right, they tried to trick the player, but what happened? You know, I two things blow off the truck, but there were two trucks, and two things blow off, so I got both. So I start
Well,
talking about what happened. This report saying something different,
yes,
slightly
it
different.
says here that a 10-page report was circulated to staff, who subsequently found out that a page with a paragraph was excluded, people. So two reports are out there. So Mr. Franklin is correct. One with 10 pages and one with 11 pages, okay? Now, this is the paragraph that was taken out that referenced the complaints of teachers and students. You know, on here, we're going to come to you with the truth and the facts. And so this is what it says. Let me make it bigger so that I can actually see it. This says these levels are applicable to normal individuals. They are not applicable to chemically sensitive individuals. So they're talking about the levels of exposure, Mr. Franklin, of the gases, etc., right?
Correct.
Okay. Specific production operations may exceed these levels due to the presence of one or more compounds, and I don't want to get into all of that. But the point is that there was a paragraph, an entire paragraph that was missing, and the question is, why? That's interesting. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
So I can tell you why I believe it is so. That was telling people who are ill or who got issues, they should be in there. All right, but you want them in there, so you take out that. That's why I say you can't trust them, and I do not understand. I heard reports from the chairman. I don't listen to him anymore. Because last time I saw him, I spoke to him. But he went to school with me, and I know him from school, so I greeted him, because we have battles, but those are battles of industrial relations or whatever. So he took them to heart, and he said, "I'm not speaking to you because you get up and said that." I said, "Oh Lord," so I didn't bother my head, So he was the same fellow I told that he flew past his nest. So we always have these issues because he attempted at one stage to bring in teachers to talk to them. No chairman of any school board has that power to invite a teacher into any meeting to chastise any teachers. So when the teacher asked me to come to the meeting, I said to her, "I am not coming." And she got, and I said, "No, I'm not setting any foot to represent you before the board. The board does not employ you." And she was still a bit scared because a lot of them are scared. I said, "Listen to me." She said, "Well, write something." So I wrote to them, and I explained to him in the letter that he has no authority to call in teachers. And I said, you've flown past your nest. And he took that to heart too. But his nest was way behind him, He wasn't he was all down the road. Now he's out there commissioning studies. Mind you, he's the same person who wanted to rule on points of law when Trisha Watson made things. But she's a lawyer, he's an accountant, and he want to tell Trisha what the law is. He's the same guy with the Fair Trading Commission hearings. So
Okay.
you know who you're talking about. So
Yeah.
arrogant, and they had no comment. And the thing is, he told the staff, when the staff came to me, remember the day we had the press conference by my office?
Sure.
I was meeting with the staff there. You can see there was a good number of them there. And I invited the press over to talk to them. And he told the staff that they should come to them first rather than go to outsiders, the outsider being me. Because they were offended that the letter that they sent to the staff threatening their jobs got into the public domain. So he wanted to hide things, he wanted to make these threats, and other people, they want to hide incriminating things, take out the report, and then tell people, "Oh, we have a good report, the school can open back." The school can't open back safely, not with this cold soup warm over report that they do over. This is essentially the same report from 2018, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So have they met with the parents? What are the parents saying?
No, my understanding is that they were supposed to meet with the parents, but they blame it on Zoom. That imagine that they only have the link could only hold 100 people, and there were more than 100 people on this. That is so weird. Even my personal Zoom, I have 500, you know, and the last one school only got 100. You know, that sounds so poor.
But, I mean, this is so important. Borrow a Zoom. I mean, it is.
I could have lent them mine.
Borrow a Zoom or just. I mean, I don't understand the Ministry of Education, and the ministry itself doesn't have a Zoom that Lester Vaughan could use. That would be over 100 people. Oh, come on, come on. Oh,
But they could have. Marcia, they could have used mine minus 500.
You
So
know, it's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous excuse in this. I mean, this is supposed to be so so important. So when Tuesday comes, what about the teachers from the other unions? Are they going to turn up?
Well, I'm mostly dealing with the ancillary staff, right? Non-teaching
Ancillary
staff,
staff.
because janitors, guards, porters, and whatever else you have at your school, they are mostly in my union. I think after 20, I have 15 or something like that. I have 5. They're just 5 short of the total complement. I only 5, so I should be recognized. You know.
So, but you don't know what the teachers are going to do.
I don't know what the teachers are doing. I spoke with the president of the teachers union, but I didn't think he asked me to make any announcements for him. So I will refrain from doing so. But they don't have to meet with their members, you know, because they have the majority of people at the school, the majority of employed people at the school. It is, and I think the union was well within its right if it says the workers do not go in there because it's unsafe for your health. Because you know, when they were at our offices, then I directed them to the chief labor officer. I said, look, go down to the chief. I'm not coming with you because I have another meeting within the next half an hour. And they wrote out something. I said, this is what I want you to say to them. They met with the senior officers down there, and the chief labor officer tell them, no, you're within your rights not to go in there. A bit words to that effect. And then she met with the staff and the board and pointed out to them that you can't give more than a letter telling about they're walking off a job or not, and so because you can't punish them for not working inside there because it's dangerous to their health. So the labor office, the labor department actually put the board right because they were threatening to the workers with abandoning their jobs because you don't go into a cesspool to breathe in that nonsense for 3 days. I told them, members of my union, you're not going in there. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Right?
You know,
St. Charles here says the smoke indicated sour gases were escaping through the soil. This is an indication of broken pipes in the area. Sealing the manholes will not solve the problem. St. Charles is correct. If you see the manholes and you don't see the pipes leading to the manholes or leading away from the manholes, you aren't doing anything because it will then still escape there. Because I must comment, I cannot do less than to commend the Barbados Union of Teachers. They insisted on the smoke test. You can see the smoke. You can't see the other sewage gases, sour gases. So you was getting these things, you're getting sick. One teacher from his school, who was a friend of mine for a number of years, we've been friends for a long time, and he said that he was not affected. So he said he only realized that he was affected when one of the teachers got up in the meeting and said that when she goes home on evenings, she is so tired. She's got to lay down for 4 hours before she can get up and do anything. She is tired because the gases got her weak and lethargic. And he said, "But that is happening to me." But he thought because he get old now, that he got home tired. So it wasn't that. It is that he is in there breathing in this foolishness, and he's not anywhere near the manhole covers. But he didn't realize that he was sick. He spoke to me. It was Thursday. He said he didn't realize that he was sick too until this teacher got up and said, "This is what happens to her." He said, "But she talking about me. This is what's happened to me." So people are going home tired, listless, can barely get home. I got to lay there and sleep first before they get up and have dinner. You imagine people going home and can't have dinner, so too tired to eat.
Mm.
He said, "But
Yeah.
this is happening to me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is it. This is. I don't even know what to say here, because I mean, to think that I would want to believe that it was a mistake that that paragraph was not included, because to do something like, we're talking about people's health, we're talking about health here, and I think that I just want to believe that it was a mistake and that it was not um, intentional, that
you,
paragraph.
you, you're too nice, honestly.
No, because you're dealing with
I,
people's
I
health,
I see
Mr.
I
Franklin.
see why Dave loves you. You're too nice.
No, on a serious note, though, I mean, I can't. You're dealing with people's health. Why? I don't understand why people would make these things up. I see Kemar, good night.
Good night, Marcia. Good night, Caswell.
Hi, Kemar. How you doing? Good night, man.
I,
Yes,
I am good. Good night to the members, to the lawyer opposition, everybody viewing the show. This Good Friday.
yes. Well, we're here talking with Mr. Franklin about Lester Vaughan School, and I know you're going to talk a bit about the fuel tax tonight, and a bit about the PIER-HEAD project. But what are your thoughts? You heard us talking about the Lester Vaughan School. They want the school to be reopened on Tuesday. And left out a whole paragraph of the report. So there are two reports. A paragraph that would impact on the teachers and the students seem to have been left out. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional. Out of it, what are your thoughts there, Kemar, before you start?
Well, I would have spoken to some of the affected persons while they were meeting with, at Unity Workers Union, and those people are extremely concerned.
Mm-hmm.
They're concerned about their life, having to the fact that the school has been closed down, but still they're being called into work. Those persons are worried about the fact, not only about themselves, but about the children there as well,
Mm-hmm.
and the impact on their health. And they heard Caswell speaking about that at length. But I when I think that we can go no lower, then they just bring the bar all down to hell. I think they've even gone past Satan now,
Oh
right?
my Lord.
With the
But
laws, yes.
Kemar, people said to me they did not understand, and I think because people don't, you can't. You want to believe the best of our government. You really want to do that. But when you were even talking about the fuel tax, and someone said to me, I still don't understand it. I think because people can't accept it. So I know we said to you, Kemar, bring to us tonight the act, right?
Yes.
And let's look at the act. I'm hoping that the act, we can get the act up on the screen soon. But go ahead, and let's talk about that a bit. Just give us a little review, because we have to do the two segments in half hour. So go ahead, please.
Yes. But this puts me in mind of the Louis School. When they closed down the Louis School and they had to transfer all of the students to different schools across the island.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be the second secondary school that is yet to be closed. I think also there was a school in St. Lucie that was closed down as well. So you see that actually increases the student role. If you had to absorb the students from Leicester Vaughan going into other secondary schools, and it increases the student to teacher ratio and puts pressure on the system. So I would not be surprised to find out eventually that the government will be seeking to build a new secondary school, right? So they're trying to find ways and means or whatever to shut this thing. But I think the powers that be need to be guided by the law on this one. They also need to be guided by the Ministry of Environment on this one, because I don't think the Ministry of Health, the Education, is equipped to handle an issue like this. And I think that personnel that has been put in place by political, because these boards are political, right? Political boards, I think you need to let the experts handle this one. I didn't hear who wrote the report. Could you give me the name of the person who wrote it?
Caswell, your mic is off.
Oh, sorry. I usually turn off so that no, I won't disturb Kemar.
Yeah.
It's signed by Ian Weeks, who is the director of industrial hygienist and indoor environmentalist. The company is called Environmental Comfort and Safety Solutions Limited. I do not know if he's certified or qualified in that area. I do not know him. I know that he said that he's a industrial hygienist and an environmentalist. I understand he's also the person that done reports for the national insurance, because national insurance got a lot of sick buildings too. The building in at Warren's by Bob Towers, the one on the hill there, also, and Warren's again, Warren's Tower 2. That is another sick building. So this guy seems to be getting a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. So we need to find out about this person who has appointed him. He seems to be a consultant. But why do you have environmental officers in the Ministry of Environment? You have a chief environmental officer, you have a deputy chief environmental officer, you have a whole department of experts on the government payroll, right? So for an issue like this, where it comes down to the health and safety measures of a school, you got health inspectors in the Ministry of Health who should be on the job, and you have environmental officers from the top down in the Ministry of Environment who can make a proper ruling on this, right? I don't think it needs to be done by politically appointed people, i.e. these boards, people who are accountants and doctors and lawyers. I don't think it should be their determination. This is
Hello, is that me? Are you there, Mr. Franklyn?
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Okay.
and the same way wrong again.
Okay.
I just sent you something too.
Yes, Kemar, we're not hearing you well. Hello, is up.
Yes. How about no?
Yeah,
Yes,
we're hearing you now.
okay,
Mhm.
yes, hearing you now.
Right. Yeah, I was saying, these people need to be on the job. The environmental officers, the chief environmental officer, the deputy chief environmental officer, and the same way they determined that COVID was a public health emergency, this is a public health emergency, because we have the lives of so many people at stake. Even the same people, but I don't think the members of the board frequent the school really, because they seem to do meetings by Zoom. But if it was them in having to use the building, they wouldn't agree.
But didn't they just have I heard that they just that at least it was advertised that there was a political meeting there a couple days ago. Didn't they? It wasn't that where they had the meeting? I don't know. I saw it advertised. Did they actually have the meeting there?
I don't know if it actually came off, But I suspect that's why the report was done in such a hurry so as to share to people. Look, you see, we are here. It is safe.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. So,
It is St. Thomas speaks.
Okay. All right. It was
mhm.
announced to be there. But let's move on to Kemar because of time to the fuel, this fuel tax. Can you summarize what you were saying again? And hopefully we can put up the actual act on. We promised the people that we would do that.
Yes. Well, as I said last time, the fuel tax, when Barbadians were introduced to this fuel tax, it was said by all of them, the Prime Minister, Kemar, Avenat, all of them, the entire Barbados Labour Party, even writing it in a manifesto, told the public of Barbados that the government was going to remove road tax and they are going to charge you a fuel tax at the pump. We can all agree on that. You heard that, Marcia?
Yes.
Fuel tax
Yes,
at the pump.
Kemar. Yes.
Caswell, you heard fuel tax at the pump.
I was there and I complained about it.
I am sure that all of Barbados heard fuel tax at the pump. Hence why we have the confusion and people cannot understand how you mean we don't pay. We all heard the government say they are taxing us at the pump. Okay? They passed the Fuel Tax Act 2018, which is what we're looking at here. And as you can see, it says here, a bill entitled an act to provide for the imposition of a tax known to be a fuel tax and for related matters enacted by the Parliament of Barbados. And short title, this act may be cited as the Fuel Tax Act 2018. This is a legislation which supports that specific promise about a fuel tax at the pump. Right? For this act, the purposes here, interpretation, it says that the comptroller means the comptroller of customs. An importer, which is, you need to highlight this one, an importer means a person who imports petroleum products into Barbados for resale. Resale. That's an importer. As you know, petroleum products will be described in the schedule, and those products will be gasoline, diesel, and kerosene. Right? The imposition of the tax. This simply means who the tax is imposed on, who the tax is put on, who basically the tax is set to target. So it says here, subject to this act, there shall be charged on petroleum products, i.e. gasoline, kerosene, diesel, a tax known as a fuel tax. Nowhere in there you see fuel tax at the pump. You see fuel tax at the pump, Marcia, Caswell, anybody?
Well, your eyes are stronger than mine and better. You might say it, but not me.
Okay. That's fuel tax. Nowhere it says at the pump. Nowhere it says here, no, number 2. The tax referred to in subsection 1 shall be charged at the point of importation of petroleum products at the rate specified in the schedule. Right? And those rates will just be 40 cents for gas, 40 cents for diesel, 40 cents for kerosene. But you see what it says here. The tax shall be charged at the point of importation. Because when you import gas in Barbados,
Never once.
Marcia, I didn't know you.
The only gas I ever imported into Barbados was once I was traveling on BB and they gave me some food that upset my stomach. I bought in a lot of gas that day.
Yes. All right. But to get any matter here, none of us import gas. Right? Then it says the minister may by order amend the schedule, and an order made under this subsection is subject to negative resolution. And as Caswell said, you could just bring a bill, you don't even have to debate it, and it could be passed. Payment of tax, which means who the persons who have to pay. Number 4 says every importer. I remember the definition of an importer, somebody who imports petroleum products for resale. Every importer shall, upon the removal of petroleum products from a warehouse, pay to the comptroller, i.e. the comptroller customs, the tax specified in section 3, which is the fuel tax. right? And that is all it says. It never said taxpayers, individual, me and you and everybody else who uses the gas station. It says nothing about people, individuals. It says nothing about taxing at the pump. So the people are not the ones who have to be paying this tax. But it clearly says here, the importers of petroleum products. So I guess the question now is, who are the importers of petroleum products in the Barbados? As far as I know, right? As far as I know, the only importer of petroleum products in Barbados is the Barbados National Oil Company Limited, which is the government, right? So ask yourselves, why now? Does it even sound real that the government would put a tax on itself? Right? Why? So then you tax BNOC, and then BNOC passes on that tax to the distributors. And as we know, there are two distributors of petroleum products in Barbados. Sol, which was sold recently to the Canadians, if you remember. Parkland Fuel now owns the shares in Sol. I think it was a $1 billion deal or so that Sol was sold for. And then you have Rubis.
Right.
If you remember the show we did previously, we discussed the fact that Rubis filed an injunction in court blocking the sale of the National Oil Terminal to Sol. Right? So when the government taxes itself and passes on that 40 cents a litre tax onto the distributors, which are Shell, into Sol and Rubis, then Sol and Rubis provides for it at the pump, and that is where we come in and we pay. Right?
Right.
But the legislation says nothing about us paying.
Yes.
Right? So that in itself is very confusing, because that is not what we were told.
As somebody is saying here, that what is happening, that they have taxed themselves and then passed it on to us.
Yes.
But without any legislation, without anything, there's nothing to guide it, there's no, it's just what was done.
They don't need guidance, because what happens, petroleum products are price control. So the minister then determines the price and tell you the price you're going to sell it at. So you wouldn't even, so that you will see when every so often they publish in the official gazette that the price of petroleum products will be this, and they tell you.
Yes.
So then they don't need any other legislation for it. They just know that they can go and do it without reference to anybody else. And that is the way how they deceive us.
Wow.
And you realize, though, even though they tell you that the price of petroleum will fluctuate with the world market prices and stuff, when the world market price down, ours is still going up. And then when it goes up again, they always carry it up. But when it comes down, the Brent number by 2 cents. Carried up by 5, Brent number by a cent. Up by 10, Brent number is 2 pennies. So all over the time, the government is just finding a way to take the monies out of their pockets. So they're ripping us off like fools, That fella can't count.
Deception.
It reminds me of a fellow who goes into a store, and I've seen this in my own time. He can't count, so when the cashier put the money account and tell you, take out what's yours. So this is what the government doing to us. They tell you put your money, they can take what they want, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, Mr. Franklyn. Back to you, Kemar.
Yeah. Well, Caswell is correct. And just look, I just want the people to see nothing about a tax at the pump. A tax placed on importers. Government is the sole importer of petroleum products, who then pass on this tax through the price onto Rubis and Shell and Sol, who then pass it on to us at the pump, right? So I was confused as to why this says nothing about Sol and Rubis handing back over the money they collected at the pump to the government, right? It says nothing about that. So there's usually a provision in all legislation which deals with the collection of tax revenues and how they're supposed to be passed to end back up into the consolidated fund. There's no provision in this act which speaks to the money that is being collected at the pump. So we are to assume that the money will be kept.
No, they're not keeping it, because what has happened, the government take it up front. So they put it in the price of the fuel. So when the importers pay that cost, they're actually paying the cost of the tax already in there. So they're paying the tax before we buy the fuel. So they will just get it back when you pay the fuel.
Right? So it will be the same thing. It is kept. So when they collect it at the pump, there's no need to pass it on, because it would have come straight off in the price.
Yeah, they paid it up front. They paid it up front.
Right? But don't forget that we pay every day at the pump. So the money that is collected at the pump, they keep that and just round off as it was already paid by the importer. So it came down naturally in the price when they bought from the importer. So they just increase the price by the amount of tax and recover it at the pump.
Yeah.
I do not know what happened in this case, right? But this is not the bill that was announced in the budget. This is something completely different. And I will say to you that what was announced in the budget was a 40-cent tax on diesel and gasoline, and a 5-cent tax on kerosene oil. That is what should be in this act. Or this act would have taxed people contrary to law, because you could only have done what was announced in the budget in this act. But then if you look at the bottom of this act, the last clause, well, not clause because it's an act, the last section, you will see what they did to you. And they take out the money without any authority. Right? Come back. No, back. No, not so far down. Not so far down. Come back down. It tells you when it comes into effect. The last clause says when it comes into effect. Right? But then you look here, come back again, and it says stop at validation. Notwithstanding sections 3, 2, and 5 of the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act Cap 85, all taxes reported paid to and collected by the Control of Customs with effect from the 1st of July 2018 shall be deemed to have been lawfully and validly paid and collected. What I'm saying to you that this does not validate what they're doing here, because this act was not done in accordance with the budgetary provisions. The budget was supposed, as Kemar is saying, Kemar is absolutely right. That money was supposed to be paid at the pump. That is what the budget said.
Yes.
So all you can do then to legitimize that tax is within 4 months of making that statement to the House, pass piece of legislation to say that it will be collected at the pump. This act has never said that. And so when they validated it, they validated something that wasn't in the budget. So they were taking money from people without the force of law. It's as simple as that. Again, of government that is acting as it likes. And because Bajans are not up, I think we need to do a bit more civics so people can understand how government works, how government runs. Because most people don't know and they do what they like. Just like with the estimates that you're going to go and do a supplementary tomorrow. Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Just a comment here, Kemar, and just quickly before you jump back in, Ms. McLean, who is not on tonight, she's saying the Minister of Energy needs to come to the public and offer a full explanation on how the price of gasoline is calculated, started from the point of arrival on the island and including what happens at the pump. Show us how much taxes are collected per liter of gasoline when, and where. And I think that is really the crux of the matter. Would you agree, Kemar?
Yes, but we can give her a head start, the Minister of Energy, and speak to what the Act says.
Yes.
The Act says that the tax will be paid at the point of importation at 40 cents a litre for gas, 40 cents for diesel, and 5 cents for kerosene. Right? That is what the Act says. Now, I can't tell you the exact price maker. I know there are a couple of taxes which go into the price of gasoline. So after the importation price, then you pay this 40 cents per litre. Then you pay excise tax. Then you pay value added tax, and then you pay something called a CIF rate. Then you pay the dealer's margin, and I am not sure if that is the entire list of the taxes, but then you can see why the price of gasoline increases so massively because of the high levels of taxation. So if government were to cut the VAT, cut excise tax, cut the fuel tax, then you will see a massive drop in the price of gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when the price of gasoline comes down internationally, if the government wanted to benefit the people, they have a lot of levers, tax levers they could pull in terms of reduction that would essentially send down the price, but they don't. So basically that's it.
Yeah. You know, this is, and I believe that this is much clearer for people because you know, Kemar, it's people want to believe, no matter what you're telling them. You know, Mr. Franklin, they like me. You know, it's like you want to trust your government. You want to believe that they have your best interests at heart, and they're not pretending to care about people. You know, but right here we're seeing that they are involved in quite a number of things that it's not transparent, and that's why
Duplicitous.
we're calling, Mr. Franklin,
I said duplicitous. You were looking for a word.
duplicitous. That it, you know, for us, we that's why a lot of people are unsure. You know, it's like they're confused, you know, as to what is really going on. And we're thankful for people like Kemar who can come on, Mr. Franklin, who can make this you know, clear for us. Yeah, and I think people are getting it now. Thank you so much, Kemar. Is there anything that you want to say about this topic? Kemar, it looks like we're going to have to do PIER-HEAD on Sunday. But anything else you want to say about this particular topic, Kemar?
Well, I could tell that I'm feeling deceived. I feel like I was tricked because every time I heard the government speaking about this fuel tax, I keep hearing them saying fuel tax at the pump, fuel tax at the pump, fuel tax at the pump. So I really believed that I was paying fuel tax at the pump, right? So they told an entire population, even the world, they probably even told that to the IMF, everything. But then when you read the legislation, it's something completely different, right? So I don't even know if I want to hear any explanations from the government because this is the clear trick. I don't know how you feel personally, Marcia, but this was a clear trick.
Correct. And the minister is Lisa Cummings that was talking so much. Is that her?
Well, not even Lisa Cummings, but I am speaking about since 2018 in the Barbados Labour Party manifesto. So every single government minister, all of the economic advisors, even the supporters, people were repeating this phrase, tax at the pump, because that's what they were told to say. Right?
Yes. Wow. as you said, feeling deceived once again. It is, and that's what, if you're watching from the government, because I know quite a number of you are watching, and if they're not watching, you take it back and tell them. I want you to let them know that there is a distrust of government. It's rampant. The Lester that issue that Mr. Franklin just spoke about, where it so happened that a particular paragraph that would impact on teachers and students was not in the report, the Lester report. Those things, it causes us not to trust. We have trust issues where it comes out to the government. Another situation like this here with this fuel, the fuel tax, it causes us to distrust you. This is what is happening. And and we needed to understand, we're not here trying to cause trouble. It's you guys. We need you to come up front and speak the truth to us so we don't feel deceived. Mr. Franklin, you seem like you were saying something, or Kemar will have to sign up.
Yes, thanks. Because since while we were talking, two people WhatsApp me to say that the town hall meetings they moved them to Sharon Church Hall, all right, and that is instructive too, because they weren't safe in there. They were not safe at Lester Vaughan, even though they had a report that said it was safe, because the report was dated the 20th. And after the 20th, they still did not go into the church hall, the school hall for themselves to have a meeting. They went elsewhere. So if they were saying that they can't go in there, why should we? No, that's a fact. The report dated the 20th. Yeah. So then, no, if the report was saying that it was safe to go into school, why wouldn't the Prime Minister and her colleagues or whoever went to this meeting not go into the venue where it was advertised, rather than go and seek someplace else closer that is not as big, not as convenient, when you could have gone into the school, because they know it was not safe for them.
Yes, yeah. And that's what we mean. I agree with you, Esther Blue, misleading the country. Kemar, what are you have any thoughts just to tie up this? And once we have some time at the end, we will come back in and let's talk about which I doubt that very much, but we're going to carry this over until for Sunday, concerning PIER-HEAD, because I think it works well with Joe's River. But Kemar, any final thoughts before Mrs. Corbin jumps into the discussion about Lester Vaughan and the school system?
Yeah, no, well, I'm of the belief that during the summertime, schools have vacations so many times a year. Mm-hmm. I don't see why a deep industrial cleaning of all schools can't be done. It should be done. And for schools like this, like I said, you should have the civil servants on the job to determine quickly if the school can no longer be in use, and to take these politically appointed boards out of the decision-making process, because it's gone past them now. I think that if the school has been shut down by the environmental officers, they are the ones who should be determining if the school should be in use, and not any politically appointed persons. Hey, so my peeve here with this one, first and foremost, is the safety of the staff, who they're trying to abuse power and to have back into that poisonous environment. The potential harm on the students. Right? And lastly, the abuse of power. Mm-hmm. Where you have these politically appointed boards making arbitrary decisions which jeopardizes the health of Barbadians. So I really think the authorities ought to step in and take control over this before it gets out of hand, and then there's a class action lawsuit hurling at the government, where the state now has to pay out millions of dollars if this goes the wrong way.
Yes, thank you.
I don't like the idea of having a class action lawsuit. I would prefer that the situation would be such that there wouldn't any need for a class action lawsuit. Clean the place. Don't get people sick, because sometimes the class action lawsuit might be, but the people's families will have to take part in the suit because they might be dead. I don't want the boyfriend Lester Vaughan dead as a result of people inside there, and that is how bad it can be.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that section that they took out of the report says that people who are asthmatic in the category that they're talking about, you go in there and get asthma and asthma attack, you might not survive to be part of the class action lawsuit. You would then, your family, if the family is minded or they understand what is going on, you might become part of it. But I
yeah,
don't want that. I want the place cleaned up properly so that those teachers can and students and staff, ancillary staff, would be able to be in an environment according to Section 104 of the Safety and Health at Work Act, because you must give them a clean place to work, a place that is safe, and you can refuse to work. You can refuse to go out to and do work in a place where it's dangerous to your health. That's in the law.
yeah,
Section 104, the Safety and Health at Work Act. I think that is what the Labor Department had advised the Leicester Vaughan School the day when they met with the ancillary staff to tell them no, they have a right not to go in there. So you can't send them home, you can't punish them, you can't do anything. That's what the Labor Department told them. So they come up now and trying to say, well, it's safe. It is safe.
yeah, yeah.
Marcia, coming close to the end, I want to say a couple of words about some guidance that was issued by the Barbados Employers Confederation, because it
Yes.
contradicts
Okay.
something that I said. And I'm just sure.
Yes. Yes, no problem, sir.
Right.
Okay. Well, we have Mrs. Rose Corbin joining us this evening, and this is segue into her, the area that she covers on this show, which is education. Welcome, Miss Corbin, for the next 20 minutes. Take it away and talk to us about what is concerning you, in the area of education. Welcome. You're muted. You're
Then I hear
muted.
you, Rose.
Okay.
Rose, we still not hear you.
Okay. While we're waiting on Mrs. Corbin to unmute her mic, I just want to remind you that on Sunday is a very big day for us on the show. We're going to be talking about Joe's River and looking at that particular issue there. It's a very urgent one that we really need to look into, Mr. Franklin. There's a possibility we might need to get down there, as you were hinting at, and to begin to find a way of supporting the people at in St. Joseph on this particular issue. We are one Barbados, and we all use the Joes River. Okay, Mrs. Corbin is ready. Good evening. We were saying good evening to you, Mrs. Corbin.
Yes, and I say good evening to everyone.
Good evening, Rose.
The opportunity to be here. Hope you had a good day. I am not necessarily going to be speaking on kind of feedback. I'm not
Yes.
necessarily going to be speaking on education this evening, but I shall be speaking on something that has been of great consternation and concern, especially over the last week when we were listening to the budget presentation, and both in the lower house and in the Senate. And I've prepared some handouts, and as you can see on the screen, I have Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and I have captioned it as gifts and handouts. And we shall flow on that. But let me preface it by saying that over the years, successive governments have made us dependent on them, dependent on handouts from them, and patting themselves on their back when they deliver. And I noticed it in the presentation with all the
Right. 1 second. Are you hearing her clearly,
No, she's going in and out like
In
a
and
sing
out.
song
Come
kind of thing.
closer. See if you come closer to the laptop. I'm want to know if
Is it better now?
yeah, keep speaking.
Is it clear? Yes. My concern is that there have there I'm getting a feedback. As I was saying, successive governments have treated the Barbadian public and the electorate to this belief that they are doing us favors. And I want us to debunk that and hold government more responsible for their roles and responsibilities. I have prepared something for you here, and I asked a colleague who is an economist to just guide me on this point to make sure that I'm accurate. And we looked at the University of York, UK, for this information. And we see that the role of government has several roles. However, top on the list is the provision of public services and public goods. That is managing key expenditures to deliver healthcare, transportation, sanitation, education, development of infrastructure such as roads, etc., and much more. The next slide, please. So this is one of the role of government. And actually, this was high on the list. The first um, role identified. How is government able to do it? That is the provision of public services and public goods. For example, we said healthcare, transportation, sanitation, education, development of infrastructure such as roads, telecommunications, water supply, etc. Next slide, please. Not through their manifesto promises. Against successive governments made big manifesto promises, giving us the impression that they can do it all and we they will deliver. They're not doing it from their pockets, but are putting tax. They're doing it through taxation from me, from you, from us. And it was interesting that to note, I did not compare notes with Kemar, neither did I with Caswell, but we talked about taxation, the hidden, the covert, and the, the sneaking taxation on us. Next slide, please. Types of taxation. We are taxed either by direct taxation or income tax, which is a tax imposed upon a person or property. And then there is indirect tax, which is a tax imposed upon a transaction. Kemar could elaborate on this, but I'm simplifying it. I'm no economist. I'm an ordinary citizen who tries to make sense of what is happening around me and trying to become informed. So I've simplified it. So at some point, we either pay a direct tax or an indirect tax, which goes into the government coffers to do the things that they say that they would do and don't often do. Let's look at the next slide, please. Yes, you can kiss me up to kisses. Um, Why? Let's pause here a minute. Let's pause here a minute. This government, particularly, and I'm not nitpicking, it's an observation. I have been around, as I said, three score plus and approaching three score and 10. I've been around the block. But I've noticed, particularly leading into the 2018 election and following on, this government wants us to believe, and I'm tired of hearing, that's why I am doing this presentation tonight. And we give them roads, and we give them, you hear, and the Prime Minister likes to say, you hear the electric buses going along, good, and she makes a joke of it. But it's a responsibility of government through our taxes to provide transportation, safe, secure, and regular transportation, for which we subsidize every which whenever we travel on the transportation, public transportation. It's not free. It's not a gift. They boast about the roads, and we give them a road down there. And they had no road down there. Look, we building roads for them. That is your responsibility. You've been elected to do it. And I am tired of the my people who feel happy and applaud them for what they are supposed to do. Look here, my economist friend sent me the 2022-2023 tax revenue breakdown. Of the total revenue for that period, we have $3.3 billion that the government took in 2022 to 2023. And the largest contribution was tax revenue. To be more accurate, for every dollar of total revenue taken in by the government in 2022 to 2023, 94 cents of it was in the form of taxes. Make a note of that. Let's go to the next slide. And we have to go in the interest of time. Look at the breakdown here. VAT or indirect tax, and we know how VAT killing us, brought in over $1 billion in that period. Corporation tax, which is a direct tax, and you see the figures here. Personal income tax, a direct tax, brought in $393.4 million. Kemar is here to explain for us if we have time. But my economist, my consultant who isn't paid big salary or none from me, helped me with this. Next slide, please. Now, another role of government is that of resource distribution. That is to address economic disparities using wealth redistribution methods such as social welfare initiatives and tax revenues. Is this really happening? And whenever they go out to help the poor, it must be with PR and it must be with cancer, and it is so mendicant that those who are in that bracket or category of society is not able to break the cycle of poverty. It is mendicant, it is interventive, and it is not sustainable, but we are to applaud. I am tired of this particular administration making us feel that these are gifts. They are not gifts, and they have us begging. I am frustrated with the begging at Lester Vaughan. You got to beg for a safe environment. You got to beg for the report. You have to beg for um, explanation about what's happening. And we could only hear that at the Paris Peak meeting. Were they not in that meeting, would we have heard? So you're begging. I've been on this show, I've been begging. I'm not begging, I've been appealing because I'm not begging. I'm appealing for assistance, for intervention at Lester Vaughan. Then we heard Anderson Cherry begging. Why does this particular administration want us to beg all the time? Again, on this show, I appealed to the Minister of Education to push back the common entrance exam. They want us to beg. I am so appreciative of Senator uh, Watson, who appealed to them to push back the common entrance exam. And she made a point that I made also, that they could defer education reform to 2026, 2 years, for which they spent money and had a fanfare launch and all those town hall meetings with the consultant PR. And they cannot oblige our children who have been disadvantaged because of COVID, through no fault of theirs, and because of lack of technology to be taught remotely, virtually. They can't oblige, but they want us to beg, beg. I want my people out there to stop begging and stand up for your right. Do not be happy. Yes, you want improved roads, but you are entitled to them. I know we talk about entitlement, but you, I, and the other taxpayer of the Barbadian public, you are entitled to these basic necessities for which you are providing the resources, It's not coming from them. Furthermore, they are taking exorbitant salaries and allowances. Their consultants are getting exorbitant fees from you, from me. And still they want us to beg and applaud. I am tired of them. You know why I am so heightened? Because while they were in listen to debate, they're thumping the desk, they're yelling, they're hollering because somebody said, and we did this road, and the minister of housing talked about the invisible houses. And I remember he said, where in the world could Barbadian get a two-bedroom or three-bedroom bathroom house for this amount of money? And I reported in my living room, he doesn't watch Home and Garden TV because in America, you could get a half a mansion with more for the amount of money that he was boasting on, that the taxpayers' money finance. So they're not doing you civil servants a favor. When I heard the vice president of the Senate saying that the land is free, free what? It has come from you. The land is free, and the people are just buying the houses. That's
Yes.
crazy. And I want my people to stop applauding and saying, and my MP give me a road. Your MP gives you the road. It is your money. I am tired of this thing, this dependency on MPs, on politicians, and we have to be grateful. This is not right. Next slide quickly, and Marcy and the others, I'm exiting.
Yes. Yes. So we have 5 minutes to 10, but it's great. Go
Give
ahead.
me the next slide quickly, please. Thank you. What do we want? We want responsible management of the people's resources through taxation of the people. You are not giving us any gifts. Furthermore, you are taking our resources and using them as you desire without consultation with the same people whose purses you are opening without their permission and taxing them through their nostrils and any other place that you can tax them. So, what is my message to the Prime Minister and her government? You are not giving gifts. Stop telling us this BLP administration has done this for the people. This BLP administration, look, we brought in the sanitation trucks. That is your responsibility. Our taxes paid are put there to make sure that we live in a clean, sanitized environment through the collection of garbage. You're not doing us a favor. And therefore, my message, put the message for me one more time. One more time, please. That I see that slide once. And this is my passionate plea. I want you to remember that you're not giving us gifts. The people are paying for these public gifts through taxation and manage the resources more responsibly. And not only through taxation, but through your borrowing, because the same people and generations to come will have to pay back these loans with interest when you MPs exit with your pensions. After some of you who are not serving the public interest. Well, so here am I, and I want you to realize that one of your role is this redistribution of resources to the poor and those who are less fortunate. And I believe that many of such persons are now in the squeezed middle class category.
Yes.
My people who are listening, I want you to get on your MP and say, enough is enough. You're not doing me a favor. I have done you a favor by voting for you, especially in this government. 30-0, now it is 29-1. We have done you a favor not once, not twice, to guarantee your pension, to
Yes.
guarantee your security. And You are not doing us a favor. You actually are working for us with are not working for us, are being paid back. My people who are listening to me, stop this thing about applauding. Let them
Correct.
sit there and applaud themselves. We are not part of that. I am part of hearing, and this government gives them, and this government gives them. You have been hired to do this, and we're paying for your service. Or
Services to do it. Well, Rose, let me tell you, Miss
let's
Corbin, this has been, I
stand
mean,
on
a
your right.
tremendous. Yeah, this has been a tremendous. It's 10 o'clock, exactly 10 o'clock. And I want to thank you so much. A great presentation, and this is why I will tell you, I was taking notes. And this is why I love this show. I love this show because when I come on here, I learn. Nigel Newton this evening, then to Caswell, then to Kemar, then to Rose Corbin. I am telling you, and can I tell you this? Nobody's paying any of us anything on here, right? We're not being paid anything. There's nobody paying us anything on here. We come on here and we research. You see the research that Mrs. Corbin put into this. This was solid stuff, and we are hoping. It was a little difficult at beginning to hear, but if you listen well and with the slides, I believe that we could have heard what she was saying. We're going to go over a little because Miss Franklin has to make a statement this evening. But before he does, Kemar, are you still there?
Yes, still here.
Yes, Kemar. Mrs. Corbin could be your mom a couple times over. I don't know, but what are your thoughts? What do you say to Mrs. Corbin this evening, having made such an empowering? I see the word that comes to me is empowering presentation. Any thoughts there, Kemar, before Mr. Franklin close us out?
Yes, I will say that there was a time on the show where we had a lot of alma mater parade going on, and everybody was, oh, I'm from Kemar, and oh, I am from. I had no help. So tonight is two of us. It's me and Rose now. All right, we both went to St. Michael's. Right. So this is our time now to alarm and dance and blow whistles and everything, and beat pots and pans like what Rose likes to do. Right. But I am always energized when I hear Rose and the way she articulates her points about she mainly speaks about education, but tonight she went into an area that I love, and that is economics and taxation. And I like the way how she said to the public to just stop begging, stop bringing yourself down to the level where you make these elected officials into these little demigods, and they really and truly do nothing for the people. And they would use the resources to get up and brag and show off and say, well, I got you buses and I got you this and I got you that, as opposed to doing it as a general public service. So I really admire that point of that Rose made. But overall, the way how she articulates her points usually lights a fire in me, and I like to give my full love and my full support over to Rose to continue bringing these issues. There's nobody in Barbados right now articulating better than Rose Corbin as it relates to issues of education right now.
Correct.
So, in the law, you have legal luminaries like Caswell, the experts, and Marcia is the general expert, and Rose is becoming our education expert. So I like to tell her to continue on, and I really enjoyed her presentation tonight.
Yes, I really did as well. Very, very, very good, Rose. Over to Mr. Franklin. I love this show, Mr. Franklin. I
Yeah,
do.
me too, you know. And I just to say to Kemar and Rose, these St. Michael students, we still beat them at sports this year. All right.
All right. Don't let that started because it's 10:04. Over to you,
All
Mr.
right then.
Franklin. You had
Um,
something to say, and
the
then we close.
um, I I work for a trade union, and a trade union is an organization registered under the Trade Union Act. All right. So the I'll try to find the thing. Just touch the thing that's going off. Yes, thanks. The so workers can form unions, and so too can employers.
Mhm.
The employers' trade union is called the Barbados Employers Confederation, and they have every right to advocate for employers, just like I advocate for workers. All right, that is their job. I must say to them that when they're advocating, they must advocate within the law,
Mhm.
because only well, this week, two people, after having heard me on the program talking about the Shops Act, referred me to an article written by the Employers Confederation as advice to its members. And they sent me that advice. It says here, the Shops Act applies specifically to shop assistants. For other categories of workers, overtime eligibility and applicable rates should be determined based on collective agreements, company policies, and contracts of employment. And then it says, the offensive part, please be aware that supervisory and managerial personnel are not considered shop assistants, and the provisions under the Shops Act do not apply to them. That is rubbish. Section 2 of the Shops Act tells you what a shop assistant is. And it says, shop assistant means any person except a member of the occupier's family, directly or indirectly, A, employed in the operations carried out for the purpose of sale or hire of articles, or B, employed in the connection with the trade or business of a shop, including clerical and other office work. So if you have a manager at the shop, he is still a shop assistant, and he is entitled to get the overtime and stuff. And a lot of companies taking this stupid advice do not pay certain supervisory personnel and managers the rate settled in the act. You got to pay double time and that kind of stuff for bank holidays and time and a half for overtime. They're not getting them because they tell them they're supervisors. That is contrary to law. The Employers Confederation is misleading you. Also, since we are here, and I just want to round up them, because there is something also that was drawn to my attention, that there are some restaurants that will remain nameless tonight that give people jobs and say that you can work up till 10 o'clock the night,
Mm.
and the next morning you have to be back there for 7. That also is contrary to law. Section 6.2, sorry, of the Same Shops Act. And I'll read it for you because I don't want to paraphrase. I want people to understand what I'm saying. It says, subject to subsection 6, no shop assistant shall be required to work A, B, and it says, unless that shop assistant is given an interval of not less than 12 hours off between each shift. So you can't send home somebody at 8 or 10 o'clock at night and expect them back the next morning. The earliest time you can expect that person back is 10 o'clock the next day. You have to be off at least 12 hours. And people say that they're gonna get back to work for 7 o'clock the next morning, and then they catch and because shops are also these people who work in the restaurants at hotels. So when you have hotel workers going home after serving the last, when the guests finish work, and then they're going to be back there next morning for breakfast, no, you need to hire more people because you are tiring out and killing off people, making them too tired to even take care of their families. It has to stop. Government knows about this, and government is doing nothing about it. And because one of those employers that send home people at 10 o'clock at night and back the next morning for 8 or 7, give donations and all kinds of stuff to the major union and the government, they are not enforcing the law. They must enforce the law that they put on the books. You got to give a shop assistant 12 hours off between shifts. Anyhow, good night, and be on again on Sunday, right, Marcia?
Yes, we're
So,
on again
Yeah.
on Sunday.
God,
for
God
very-
willing.
Yes,
Marcia,
thank you. Yes,
right, before we go, I just wanted to say a prayer for Oswald Newton,
yes,
one of our loyal supporters.
yes. Can I just say, I have it right here, Kemar, his name right here to say, I would say that before we close off. Oswald Newton, who is one of our loyal supporters, he's from St. John. At almost every march that I can remember, Oswald is there. From before, even when we were marching for the children, before we started this whole opposition, Oswald was at those marches with us. And he fell at work today, and he's at the QEH. And so I'm asking everybody, put that name down and please say a special word of prayer for Oswald Newton. He's a very, very lovely man and very kind and supportive. Oh my goodness. So we want to keep him in our prayers. I had his name right there to mention before we close. Okay. Yeah. So yes, thank you everybody for joining. Somebody wants to make sure that we say this little chant every night. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what do you say at home? Read the screen. What do you say at
Me and
home?
Motley out the door.
5, 6, 7, 8. What do you say?
Oh Lord, the people cannot wait.
All right. So we're just warming up. We're warming up. Say it loud and wake up your neighbor. All right. So everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Me and Motley out the door.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh Lord, the people cannot wait.
Yes. All right. So yes, everybody's saying get to Oswald to get well soon. Oswald, yes, very much so. And so we're closing out, guys, and we want to say thank you again for great presentations, which we had more time, but that's just how it is. And thank you all so very much for joining. Let's go out with our little with our song. You know, thank God Miss Corbin knows some math. The St. Michael people, they say they know maths and English. All right, okay, God bless. Bye bye. Bye bye. Let's hear that.
English. Pretending to be good. Hey, pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. Hey, pretending to be good. Hey, just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good night, and we see you on Sunday. And Caswell loved that song too much. See you on Sunday. All right, folks, a fantastic show. I really enjoyed it tonight. Bye bye. God
Good
bless.
night.